Hi, this is Evan from GoodBuy Comics. Today's video is going to be an update to the first video that I posted a few weeks ago, which was a submission of 50 Golden Age and Silver Age comics. We went over the conditions of them and what we thought they would come back as. Today we have the results. This is going to be the first video of the 25, and then we'll split into video 2, just so it's not a 2-hour video. Please subscribe to the channel. It's appreciated. The channel launched about 3 weeks ago, and it's just done way better than I ever thought it was gonna. A few of the videos have gone, in my head, viral. I'd love the continued support. So please subscribe and share, and I hope you like the content. I'll keep it coming as often as I can. But this is some really great books that we got back. We're going to play a little game here where we're going to have the estimated grade on each book, and then we're going to do the little reveal. Some are good, some are not as good as I had hoped, but they're all pretty on point. Let's just dive right into it. So the first book that we got back is Jetsons #1. This is a gold key book. This is the first appearance of the Jetsons. I'm excited. This is a personal collection book for me. I got my Peanuts one up there, Jetsons one, Flintstones I need to get. I do have the first appearance of Bam Bam, but that's not exactly the first appearance of Flintstones. But this is a beautiful book. It's a lower grade, really hard to find. Kind of goes along with like Scooby-Doo, Peanuts, Jetsons. These are some books that are highly collectible and very valuable. I thought this was going to get a 3.0-ish. And it does have there's a big tear on the back there. The expectations weren't huge. But it came back a 2.0 with cream to off-white pages. It's still a few $100 book, and I'm very happy with this. It's beautiful. It looks nice. Presents well. Let's see if this is better without the light on it. Okay. Second book we got. First appearance of Mysterio. For those who saw the first video, I think you might recall that I paid around $500 for this on Whatnot. I felt that it was a good purchase price in the grade that I thought it was going to get. I thought this was going to be in the 3.5 to 4.5 range. This is a very, very collectible book. And 4.0. So I had estimated 3.5 to 4.5, came back a 4.0 with off-white pages. It does have it's a 4.0. I could have seen it getting a 3.5. It's got a big crease there, but even in a 4.0 condition, it's around $1,000. Okay, this book I love. I love the first Fantastic Four. First Silver Surfer 48, 49's great, 50's a great cover. Then you jump to 72. Trying to think if this is actually the fourth appearance of Silver Surfer. Definitely it goes 48, 49, 50, and then I think it's just 72 after that. There might be one in between. But this iconic cover, the Watcher in the background, Silver Surfer just pops. I've had a bunch of these recently. I think I sold a couple of them. This is definitely a very nice copy. I probably didn't pay over $100 for it, luckily. And came back a 5.5. So, you're not going to hit it right every single time. It still looks pretty amazing. I had hoped that it was going to be a 7. So there's probably a small difference in price there, but what I got into it, probably around $100, I'll do just fine. This is another copy of Fantastic Four 72. I had this just sitting in a pile of Silver Age books. It's a lower grade. I know it's a lower grade, but probably can still get about $150, $200 out of it, I'd imagine. Let's see what we got. 3.5. Still, it looks really nice. The colors pop. Everything's nice about it. And I should not have an issue selling it. And truthfully, for 3.5, it looks more like a 5. I mean, I don't see any major issues that would make you say, oh, that's a 3.5. There's wear on the spine, but it's okay. This is a beautiful looking book to get in cheap for Fantastic Four 72. This one I picked up on Whatnot, on the Whatnot warehouse. I believe I paid under $400 for it. I took a gamble on it. It looked extremely high grade. Obviously, anything that you're buying online on an auction like that could have the chance of being restored or color touched or anything like that. But it looked pretty good to me. It had the date stamp on the back, very lightly. Should not get dinged for that. But this is the first Sentinels, X-Men 14. I had been hoping it was going to get around a 7.0. You know, first Juggernaut, first Sentinels. Sentinels are just such a huge part of the X-Men universe. They always will be. You know, they're robots, so it sort of holds them back on being as valuable as Juggernaut, let's just say. But, you know, huge key, grail. And we got a 7.5. Totally happy with that. This is a big boy book. And if I paid around $400, I'd just off the top of my head, probably in a 7.5. It's with white pages as well. It's probably a $1,000 book. Okay. Swamp Thing, #1, Bernie Wrightson. This was a beautiful looking copy. You know, these DC books from this era, they have this gloss that is just really, really, I don't know, bright, but glossy is the right, I guess is the right word. It's different than what Marvel was putting on theirs. The paper is different on DC than Marvel, and so is their gloss as well. But it also causes issues with ticks, and I find that the DC books have more ticks along the spine. Either way, I was hoping to get an 8.5 out of this. This is a very high, beautiful looking book. Came back an 8.0. Happy with that. Close enough. It's a couple $100 like this. This is one of a few hundred books that I had picked up from a collection that the customer contacted me and told me that they had a few hundred comic books, but a few thousand boxes of baseball cards. And that ended up being a major, major home run. I'll go into that whole story another time. But the comic books were great, and there was some really big home runs there. There was tons of Demon 1, Teen Titans, which is in this pile here, Swamp Thing. Great books from the early 70s, a bunch of #1s. The collector was obviously a baseball card guy, but he had a nice little stack of comic books that, you know, he was just picking up issue one because he thought maybe they'd be worth something, and lo and behold, they were. Fantastic Four, number 57, iconic Doom cover. Just classic Doom. These early Fantastic Four books with Doom on them, they tell a story, and it makes Doom just seem like this villain that is just so huge. He's always this big overarching guy that is looking down on the Fantastic Four, and he's always almost like Galactus, right? So this one I love. He's got the Silver Surfer and the Fantastic Four around them. Enter Dr. Doom. I think number 39 is one that I really like as well, where Doom is over the city and he's looking at the Fantastic Four walking down. Anyway, all these early Fantastic Four, even though the Fantastic Four has sort of fallen off from grace, the early Silver Age stuff, people just can't get enough of. They're the beginnings of Black Panther and Silver Surfer and Galactus and Kirby artwork and Stan Lee at his best, and it's just such great storytelling. And they're coming back to the MCU, so hopefully this new reboot in the MCU is really going to get people back into the Fantastic Four. Either way, I thought this was going to be a 5.0, and boom, it's a 5.0. It would have graded higher, although it has a little tiny tape pull. Probably would have been around a 6.5 or 7 if not for that. Next is SpiderMan 127. Beautiful white pages. This is from a collection that I bought of Spider-Man. It was issues 4 through 427 or something like that. And a one owner collection, really high grade. And I ended up submitting a lot of these to CGC. Just great, beautiful books. I had high hopes on this, a 9.0 to 9.2. If you look at it in hand, it just looks beautiful. There's a few tiny little spine ticks. They're really hard to see because it's a white spine, but it ended up getting an 8.0. You know, I'm going to just have to do a little bit of a better job. I feel like this order got split into 2 pieces because it was 50 books, and I think almost certain that the graders were different from one to the next. You know, could this have gotten an 8.5 or a 9. I don't see a reason why not, but I'm happy with an 8.0. I also, this is driving me a little bit crazy, but a lot of these, the grades are off center in the middle of there, and I wish it was like that on at least half, or if not more. I also noticed unboxing these that they changed out previously I noticed that they changed out the bags to be a thicker bag, and I thought that was something that was going to be going forward. Apparently they're back to the old flimsy bags that they come in. As soon as I get them, I swap them out for these I don't remember the brand of them, but they're they're sleeves, and they got a little sticky on the back, and it just protects them better. They're cheap. They're not very expensive. They're not going to protect from UV light, but they're cheap. And better than what CGC gives you. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 64. It's, again, white pages, beautiful looking book against the Vulture, high grade. I thought it was going to be a 9.2, and it got a 9.2 white pages. It's funny because I look at this and I look at this one, and quite honestly, I think that the 127 is a nicer copy than this is, but, maybe they saw something that I didn't. This book came from that baseball card collection. It is Teen Titans number 1. This is, you'll notice that there is no number 1 on here. It's only on the inside. Somebody pointed out on the last video that I posted that they did that because launching number 1s, kids were sort of afraid to try something new. They were so set in Superman and Batman and Archie, and they didn't like purchasing something that said number 1 because they didn't know if they were going to like it. So the mentality on some of these books was, let's try and see what happens if we don't put number 1 on there and see if it sells better. As if, this has already been out for a while. You missed the previous issues. Check it out. And I guess it worked, or maybe that was a failed experiment and they started putting number 1 back on there. Teen Titans number 1. This is, now, I don't know if this is actually the first appearance of any of these characters or not. I know it's not the first Beast Boy. It's certainly not the first Robin. I don't think it's the first appearance of any of them, but it's the first as them all together. I had this going at a 5.5 to 6. Came back a 7.5. Major win, huge bump in price. Great book to own. Teen Titans is, they've had the TV show out. There's a lot of Nightwing fans and Beast Boy and the cartoon, and it's just a nice little cult following for Teen Titans. Great book there. Happy with the result. This one is Blue Beetle number 1. Now, Blue Beetle number 1 would be a nice, valuable book by itself, but on top of that, it's the first appearance of the Question. And this is by Charlton Books. There's also a version by Modern, which I believe is the reprint. This is the more expensive one. They look almost the same, except that up here it says Modern on it. Don't worry, if you have the Modern one or find the Modern one, it's still worth a decent amount of money. We had this coming back as a 5.5. Came back a 5.5. Very happy with the results. So there's been a few that I've been off on. You don't really know if that's whether it's because something had happened in transit or press the books in New Jersey here, and then in transit going from cold weather to warmer weather in Florida, and then sitting in humidity for a little bit, possibly, affected the books. They regressed back to their natural state. Paper is a little finicky, and so when you're shipping it and it's going from temperature to temperature, sometimes it loses what you had done, and that's why people have to press books over and over and over again. Honestly, once it's in the case and it's got the grade on it, doesn't really matter. It is what CGC says it is. Sort of the game that we play, is if they put it badly in the sleeve, does it make it a lesser grade at that point? No, everybody's buying it by what the grader thought it was at that time. The only circumstance that I can think of is if it really, the book yellowed or faded over time because it wasn't taken care of. Then you could say, yeah, that book is no longer a 5.5. It's now a 1.5 because you can't even see the picture on it. All right, Spider-Man number 72 against the Shocker, rocked by the Shocker. And a really tough book to get in high grade, black cover. And I had this coming back as an 8.5. Came back in 8.5 white pages. Can't ask for anything better than that. Expectations filled. Again, another black cover. Hard to get a high grade on. Amazing Spider-Man number 114. I had it coming back as an 8.5. Now, I think this is the second appearance of Hammerhead, if I'm not mistaken, or it's right up there. 8.5, coming back a 9.2. That's a win. When I'm doing my estimates, I like to say, okay, it's a 0.2 or a 0.5 difference between what I think it's going to get, what's the low, what's the high. Most of these, I'm still working on my perfection of Silver Age. It's hard sometimes, and the graders aren't always going to agree with you. You're going to have some wins and some losses. On modern books, it should be a much smaller, it should be a 0.2 difference. You should be able to really tell. But some of these older books, you don't know if they're going to ding you on... sometimes you don't even really know what it was like when it first came out, quite honestly. I mean, it wasn't perfection back then. The systems and the printers and the cutting was rough around the edges. So you got to trust the pros, although sometimes they get it wrong too. Batman 244, early Neil Adams. I love this cover, man. It is just so iconic. Raja Ghul. Everything is great about this. Raja Ghul and Talia appearance, Robin backup story. This is Batman 244. I feel like these books are undervalued. Neil Adams passed away this year. I think they're just going to keep going up in value. It rebirthed Batman in this era in the 70s. This is 1972. This I had coming back as a 7.5. Came back as 7.0, close enough. Price is probably around the same value. And honestly, I picked up 2 of these at a flea market, and I think I paid $25 for them each. So, woohoo! All right. We have another copy, slightly lower grade. I had this as a 5.5. Came back as a 6. So, slightly under on the other, slightly over on this one. Okay. Thor 168. Now, this one is going to be going back to CGC because of their quality control, which at some points is non-existent. It's kind of hard to see here with the glare, and I apologize about the glare today. Right over there is a nice little piece of plexiglass, or whatever you want to call it. I think it's a piece off of the inner sleeve, and I can't tell. I think it's above the plexi on there, so hopefully it's not going to ruin the book. But, they have quality control there for a reason, and they're not doing their job. The minute I pulled it out, I saw it. I don't know why they didn't. I think they have a thing where if it's not they'd rather the customer send it back and ask them to be fixed as opposed to just fixing it, because it's going to hold up the order to have to go through the whole reprocess. I wish they would change the mentality. I don't think it's the right mentality because it just leaves a sour taste in people's mouths. But at the very least, they pay for expedited shipping back, and you get it back within 2 weeks. It sucks, but it is what it is. Thor 168. This is the Origin of Galactus. Easy book to resell. Great cover. I had this as a 5 to a 6, and it came back a 6.5, but can't sell it because it's going back to CGC. Okay, I had 2 of these. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 135. This is the quote-unquote second Punisher, Origin of Tarantula. Awesome cover, John Romita. The one that I had submitted a long time ago. It got damaged in shipping or when they were encapsulated or something, but it ended up, or maybe as it was getting graded, but it was a 5.5. I would have never sent it in originally if it was a 5.5. And it ended up, I cracked the slab, repressed it, and it ended up getting an 8.5. So I am very happy with that result. 5.5 to 8.5. That works for me. Thank you very much. Another copy. I had this one as a 6.5. I picked this up in a collection recently. Came back a 7. So now I got an 8.5 and a 7. And personally, I think that book is undervalued. It's, ASM 129, which is the next book coming up. This 135 should be worth a bit more, in my opinion. People just get so hung up on the first appearances that they neglect some of these great early second appearances. Amazing Spider-Man 129. Now, do you guys want to guess what this is going to come back as? I mean, we got a humongous piece ripped out there. And a humongous piece ripped out there. Let's see. The back is not attached. The cover's not attached. So, what do you think this is going to be? Anybody? Oh my God. Ding, 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 ding. You got it right. It's a 0.5. I'm cool with that because I probably paid, I don't know, 10 cents or something for it. It was in a collection of thousands and thousands of other books that, you know, it was at the bottom of a pile. I didn't even know it was in there. But I probably paid on average more than 10 cents, whatever it was, $1 or $2 or whatever it was. But certainly even a 0.5 is about $750. That's how big this book is. This is just a Bronze Age Grail. Anybody that doesn't want to drop $2,000, $3,000, $10,000 on this book, this is your entry level, a 0.5. It's still very cool. I have a feeling that it might go to a collector that has a couple of these already. But you know, I have a 7.0. I just picked up another one in a great collection. Actually, check out the other video of what we found in the trash. Great video, and I think you'll really enjoy it. But there was an ASM 129 in there. Okay, we got Iron Man #1. I have another copy. I think I have a 4.0 for sale right now. I had this coming back as a 4.5. Iron Man 1. This cover is just so awesome, man. I mean, it looks like he's, you know, it's funny. In my head, I always thought that he was breaking chains. He's not. He's just, I don't know what he's doing. Breaking iron or something. Something smashing up against him. But Iron Man kickstarted the whole MCU, man. He just did. It wasn't the hugest character back in the 80s and 90s. You know, people liked Iron Man. It was good. It was fine. But the movies really changed everything. And I had this coming back as a 4.5. Came back a 4.0. Again, entry level, probably around $500 or something. You know, you don't have to go drop thousands and thousands of dollars. You could probably have, you know, 10 of these before you could either have 10 low grade ones or one really high grade one. And surprisingly, some of these low grade ones, you can make some good money on it because people just, they don't see the value in the low grade. And so they either throw it away or they let it go, or, you know, they just don't think it's going to be worth a lot of money. And these are sometimes the best times to invest in. This one is a unique one. Nothing I'd ever seen before, and I like it. It's Chilling Adventures in Sorcery by Archie. This is 1972, and it's as told by Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. This came back and a lot of these had these little, I don't know if they're return dates or receive dates. Maybe they're receive dates. That might make more sense. So it says 7/26 on there. It's issue #1. I had it as an 8.5. Came back in 8.0. There's not a lot of these out there. I think it's pretty rare. I'm not a Sabrina fan, but I know there are Sabrina fans out there. Okay, the last 4 books are big boy Golden Age books, and these might be staying in the personal collection. I'm a big horror guy, really getting into Golden Age books. I think these are just fantastic, and you know, they're just so rare. Pre-code, before the government started telling us what we could or could not see in our comics. This is Baffling Mysteries #7. It's got this swamp thing looking guy there. Man, the reflection is, where's the reflection coming from today? It is horrible. My God. Baffling Mysteries #7, and that's because of the cases. I didn't have such a problem when I was recording last time with just the raw books. It's got this advertisement for this spot reducer. Ooh, massager. We got Baffling Mysteries #7. I had it as a 3.0. It's low grade. It's got a little bit of wear on the side here. It's got the staples aren't fully attached. It presents amazing. Got a 2.0. There's not a lot of them out there. It's going to look awesome on my wall. I don't care. Okay, another. Now, this one is in a inner sleeve. Now, the next one is in an inner sleeve. I think there's one here that's not. Now, the old Golden Age books, they came in various sizes. They weren't 100% consistent. If CGC can fit it into a sleeve, they'll fit it into a sleeve. If it's too big, they'll move it up to, if it's just the right size, they'll skip the sleeve and it'll just be in the slab. If it's too big, it will go into a magazine size. And the magazine size ones I'm not crazy about. You'll see in the next video. I'll show you one that I got back. This is Weird Horrors #1 by St. John Publication. It's got this crazy guy in a cloak with a daggers trying to stab somebody. It's got that EC horror look to it. I had this as a 4, came back a 4.5. You know, if I were to put these up for sale, you know, I might go through Heritage or something like that, or just through a inquiry that somebody's asking about. But I'm not sure I'm ready to part with some of this horror stuff. I'm too into it right now. Web of Mystery number 8. Again, this sort of woman in damsel in distress. She's stuck on the web there. There's a spider monster here and some skulls. It's just really cool. This is Web of Mystery number 8. It's a lower grade. I knew it was. I had it at a 3.0. Came back a 2.5. Still looks amazing. And last but not least, the big boy. So this is Airboy Comics Volume 9, number 12. This is an early appearance of the Heap. There is barely any sales data on this. The Heap is the precursor to Swamp Thing and Man Thing that they both based the characters on. Most people think that Swamp Thing was the first character to be like that. Man Thing actually was either being created, came out slightly before Swamp Thing, or being created at the same time and just got released. Either way, they were both really based off of the Heap. You can see the nose there. I had this at a 5.5. This is by Hillman Periodicals. They had some really awesome books at this point. It has a little tear there. It's in pretty good shape, though. It's got this Arnold Schwarzenegger-looking guy on the back. Just looking who that is. Anyway. All right. 5.5. And we came back a 4.5. This one I don't think I'm selling anytime soon. Again, there's no inner sleeve. Great looking, awesome book, and just very, very happy with it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Please subscribe. Plenty of more videos coming. Part 2. This is the first 25. We'll run through the second 25 on the next video. I'll give it a couple days before I upload that. I hope you guys have been enjoying the content. You can follow me on Instagram, GoodBuy_comics or whatnot. There's 3 to 4 sales usually a week with everything from Silver Age to modern or specialty, like Mark Jeweler insert shows, slabs, tons of slab shows. Give a follow. Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks for the support, and I'll see you soon.